Beneath the surface of the ocean lies a world that stretches far beyond human imagination, a world that covers most of the earth yet remains largely unexplored and unknown. From the moment you begin to think about it, you realize that what we see from above is only a thin layer, a fragile boundary between light and darkness. The ocean is not just water. It is an entire system of life, pressure, silence, and movement that has existed for millions of years before humans ever appeared. At the surface, the ocean looks calm and familiar. Waves move gently, rising and falling in a rhythm that feels almost peaceful. Sunlight reflects across the water, creating patterns that shift constantly with the wind. From a distance, it feels safe, almost inviting. But this calm surface hides something far more complex beneath it. The deeper you go, the more the world begins to change in ways that are not immediately visible. As you descend below the surface, the first thing you notice is the fading of light. The bright blue begins to darken slowly. Colors that once seemed vivid start to disappear, one by one. Red is the first to vanish, absorbed quickly by the water. Orange and yellow follow shortly after. As you continue downward, everything becomes shades of blue, until even blue itself begins to fade into deeper and deeper darkness. The ocean is not just a single environment. It is a series of layers, each one different from the other. Each layer has its own conditions, its own life forms, and its own rules. The further you go, the more unfamiliar it becomes. Temperature drops steadily as sunlight disappears. The warmth of the surface is replaced by a cold that becomes more intense with every meter. Pressure also begins to increase. This is something you cannot see or feel in the same way you feel temperature, but it is always present. It grows stronger the deeper you descend, shaping everything in the environment. Even the creatures that live here are shaped by it. Their bodies are designed not just for survival, but for endurance in conditions that would be impossible for surface life. Sound behaves differently underwater. It travels faster than in air, but it also becomes distorted over long distances. A single movement can carry across vast spaces, yet the meaning of that sound is not always clear. In the deep ocean, silence is not truly silence. It is a different form of presence, a quiet that feels alive in its own way. At around 50 meters below the surface, the environment begins to feel noticeably different. Sunlight is still present, but it is weak and filtered. The colors of the world are already fading. Marine life begins to shift. Some fish stay closer to the surface, where light is stronger, while others begin to move deeper into the water column. Every species has its own range, its own level where it feels most comfortable. This layered structure of the ocean creates a sense of separation between worlds. It is not one continuous environment, but many environments stacked on top of each other. Each layer is a transition into something more unknown than the one above it. As you continue downward, the feeling of isolation increases. The surface becomes distant, both physically and mentally. The world above starts to feel like a memory rather than a place you are connected to. Below, everything becomes quieter, slower, and more distant. The ocean at this depth is still only the beginning of what lies beneath. Deeper layers wait below, each one holding more mystery than the last. It is here that the true transformation begins, where light becomes rare and life begins to adapt in ways that challenge everything we think we know about existence. And as you continue deeper into this hidden world, you begin to realize that you are no longer simply observing the ocean. You are entering it, layer by layer, into a place that operates under completely different rules than the world above. As you continue descending into the ocean, the world around you becomes increasingly unfamiliar. The light that once filtered gently through the water now feels distant and weak, as if it belongs to another place entirely. You are no longer in the upper layers where sunlight still has influence. You are entering a region where the ocean begins to reveal its deeper identity, one shaped by faint light, shifting pressure, and quiet transformation. At around 200 meters below the surface, you enter what is known as the twilight zone. This is one of the most mysterious regions of the entire ocean. It is neither fully lit nor completely dark. Instead, it exists in a state between both worlds, where sunlight is reduced to a faint glow that barely reaches this depth. The environment here feels different in a way that is difficult to describe. It is not just darker. It is more distant, more isolated, as if the ocean itself is pulling you away from everything familiar. In this twilight zone, life begins to change in remarkable ways. The creatures that live here are not like those near the surface. They have adapted to conditions where light is limited and visibility is poor. Some species develop extremely large eyes, designed to capture even the smallest traces of light that filter down from above. Others evolve in the opposite direction, losing their eyesight entirely because vision is no longer useful in this environment. Instead of relying on sight, many creatures depend on other senses. They detect vibrations in the water, subtle changes in pressure, and chemical signals carried through the currents. In this world, perception is not based on what is seen, but on what is felt and interpreted through other means. It is a form of awareness that operates beyond human experience. One of the most fascinating features of this zone is the presence of bioluminescence. Many creatures here have the ability to produce their own light. This light appears in different forms: soft glows, sudden flashes, or rhythmic pulses that move through the darkness. But this light is not for decoration. It is a tool for survival. In the absence of sunlight, light becomes a language used for communication, deception, and defense. A small flash in the darkness can mean many things. It can be a warning to predators, a signal to attract prey, or a distraction used to escape danger. In this environment, every glow carries meaning. Every pulse of light is part of a silent system of interaction that replaces spoken language. As you move deeper into the twilight zone, the environment becomes even more surreal. Shapes are harder to distinguish. Movement becomes slower and more deliberate. The ocean feels less like a familiar environment and more like an alien world, suspended in darkness. There is a strange sense of stillness, even though life is constantly moving all around you. Eventually, even the faint traces of sunlight disappear completely. You cross a boundary where the twilight zone ends and the midnight zone begins. This is a region of total darkness where no sunlight has ever reached. It is absolute in its absence of light. If you were here without artificial illumination, you would not see shadows or shapes. You would see nothing at all. The transition into the midnight zone is not marked by a clear line, but by a gradual loss of visibility until everything becomes completely dark. It is here that the ocean reveals a different kind of reality, one where life continues without the presence of the sun. The pressure in this zone is immense. It increases to levels that would be fatal to most known surface organisms. The weight of the water above becomes a constant force, shaping every aspect of life here. And yet, despite these extreme conditions, life continues to exist. Creatures in the midnight zone are often strange in appearance. Some have transparent bodies that allow light, when present, to pass through them. Others have oversized mouths and flexible stomachs, allowing them to consume anything they encounter in an environment where food is scarce. Many species are slow-moving, conserving energy as much as possible because survival depends on efficiency rather than speed. In this world, nothing is wasted. Every movement has purpose. Many creatures spend most of their existence drifting through the water, waiting for rare opportunities to feed or interact. It is a life defined not by abundance, but by patience and adaptation. Sound, once again, behaves differently here. In the absence of light, the ocean becomes a space where vibrations matter more than sight. Even the smallest movement can travel across long distances, creating echoes that fade slowly into the darkness. Yet despite this ability, the midnight zone still feels profoundly silent. This silence is not empty. It is filled with unseen activity, with life forms that operate beyond human perception. It is a silence shaped by depth, pressure, and isolation, where existence continues without the need for constant noise or visibility. As you remain in this deep part of the ocean, you begin to understand that life does not depend on light in the way we experience it on the surface. It adapts, it evolves, it finds new ways to exist in conditions that seem impossible. And as you continue deeper still, beyond the midnight zone, you approach even more extreme environments where the ocean floor itself begins to reveal hidden landscapes shaped by forces far older than human history. As you continue descending beyond the midnight zone, the ocean begins to feel even more distant from the world above. The surface, with its sunlight, waves, and familiar life, now seems unimaginably far away. Around you, there is only darkness, pressure, and the slow movement of a hidden world that has existed for millions of years without being seen. The deeper you travel, the colder the water becomes. Temperatures remain only a few degrees above freezing, yet life continues to survive. The creatures here have adapted so completely to their environment that these conditions feel normal to them. What would seem hostile and impossible to humans is simply home. Eventually, the vast emptiness begins to change. Far below, the ocean floor starts to emerge from the darkness. At first, it appears as a faint suggestion of shape, a shadow beneath the black water. Then slowly the landscape becomes more visible. Many people imagine the seafloor as a flat and empty place. In reality, it is one of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth. There are mountains taller than many, found on land, enormous valleys stretching for hundreds of kilometers, deep trenches, cliffs, ridges, and volcanic formations shaped over countless ages. This hidden landscape was formed by powerful geological forces. While life on the surface changes over years and centuries, the ocean floor changes over millions of years. Continents move slowly. Plates shift beneath the Earth's crust. Volcanoes rise and collapse. Entire sections of the seabed are created and destroyed in processes so gradual that they are almost impossible to observe directly. As you move across this deep sea floor, you notice how still everything feels. Fine layers of sediment cover much of the ground. These particles have slowly drifted down from above for thousands of years. Tiny remains of marine organisms, microscopic fragments of life, and particles carried by ocean currents settle here in an endless gentle rain. In some places, the seafloor appears almost lifeless. Yet even here, life exists. Small creatures move across the sediment, searching for food. Strange animals bury themselves beneath the surface. Others drift just above the ground, waiting patiently for opportunities to feed. Food is one of the greatest challenges in the deep ocean. Unlike surface ecosystems powered by sunlight, deep ocean environments often depend on material slowly falling from above. Scientists sometimes call this marine snow. It consists of tiny particles of organic matter drifting downward through the water column. To creatures living in the depths, this constant fall of material is an important source of survival. Every particle matters. Every small piece of organic matter can provide valuable energy in an environment where resources are limited. Occasionally, something much larger reaches the seafloor. The body of a large whale, for example, may sink after death. When this happens, it creates what scientists call a whale fall. These events can support entire communities of deep-sea life for years, sometimes even decades. Creatures gather from great distances. Some feed directly on the remains. Others feed on organisms attracted to the site. Over time, an entire temporary ecosystem develops around a single source of food. In the deep ocean, such opportunities are rare and valuable. As you continue your journey across the seafloor, the landscape begins to change again. The ground becomes rougher and more uneven. Large rocky formations emerge from the darkness. Some appear like ancient towers rising from the ocean floor. Others resemble cliffs or ridges extending far into the distance. These formations have stood here for countless ages. Long before the first human civilization appeared, they already existed in silence beneath the sea. They have witnessed changes in climate, the movement of continents, and the rise and fall of entire species. Despite the darkness, life finds ways to occupy nearly every available space. Small organisms attach themselves to rocks. Fish patrol the area searching for food. Crabs and other scavengers move slowly across the ground. Every part of the environment becomes connected through a delicate balance of survival. One of the most remarkable things about the deep ocean is its sense of time. On the surface, life often feels fast. Days pass quickly. Seasons change. Human activity never truly stops. But here time feels different. Movement is slower. Growth often takes longer. Some deep-sea species may live for decades, even centuries. Changes that would seem dramatic on the surface occur gradually in the depths. The ocean moves according to rhythms that are measured not in days, but in generations. As you continue forward, you begin to notice something unusual in the distance. The darkness ahead is no longer completely dark. A faint glow appears against the black water. It is not sunlight. It is not moonlight. It is something else entirely. The glow grows stronger as you approach. Slowly, shapes begin to emerge from the darkness. Tall structures rise from the seafloor, surrounded by clouds drifting through the water. You are approaching one of the most extraordinary environments in the entire ocean, the hydrothermal vent fields. These hidden places exist, where heat from deep within the earth escapes through cracks in the ocean floor. Here, in complete darkness, entire ecosystems thrive without any dependence on sunlight. And as you draw closer, you begin to see that these strange environments may hold some of the greatest secrets, not only about the ocean, but about life itself. As you move closer to the faint glow in the darkness, the landscape of the ocean floor begins to transform. The water around you remains cold and black, yet ahead stands a place unlike anything else in the deep sea. Tall structures rise from the seafloor, releasing clouds of mineral-rich water into the surrounding darkness. These formations are known as hydrothermal vents, and they are among the most extraordinary environments ever discovered on Earth. For a long time, scientists believed that all life ultimately depended on sunlight. Plants use sunlight to create energy. Animals depend on plants directly or indirectly, and entire ecosystems are built upon that foundation. But the discovery of hydrothermal vents changed that understanding forever. Here, thousands of meters below the surface, sunlight has never reached. Yet life thrives. The vents form where seawater seeps into cracks in the ocean floor. Deep beneath the seabed, this water is heated by the Earth's internal heat. It becomes extremely hot and absorbs minerals from the surrounding rock before rising back into the ocean through openings in the seafloor. When this superheated water meets the freezing temperatures of the deep ocean, minerals rapidly cool and solidify, gradually building towering chimney-like structures. Some of these formations grow for decades, while others may continue developing for centuries. Around these vents exists an ecosystem unlike any other on the planet. Large colonies of organisms gather near the warm, mineral-rich water. Strange worms, unusual crustaceans, deep-sea shrimp, and many other creatures live in dense communities around the vents. In a place where sunlight does not exist, life has found another path. Instead of relying on energy from the sun, microorganisms use chemical reactions involving minerals released by the vents. This process provides the foundation for the entire ecosystem. Tiny organisms transform chemical energy into usable forms, supporting larger creatures higher in the food chain. It is a reminder that life is far more adaptable than humans once believed. You notice how different it feels from the empty stretches of seafloor behind you. Activity is everywhere. Creatures move across rocks. Small clouds drift through the water. Shapes emerge and disappear within the darkness. The vents create islands of life surrounded by vast regions of deep ocean emptiness. The contrast is remarkable. Only a short distance away, the ocean floor may appear quiet and nearly barren. Yet here, entire communities thrive around sources of heat and minerals rising from deep within the earth. Scientists often study these environments because they may provide clues about the origins of life itself. Some researchers believe that conditions similar to those found around hydrothermal vents could have played a role in the earliest stages of life on our planet billions of years ago. If life can exist here in darkness, under immense pressure, supported by chemistry rather than sunlight, then perhaps life may also exist in places beyond Earth. This possibility has inspired scientists to look toward distant worlds. Moons, such as Europa and Enceladus, contain oceans beneath thick layers of ice. Deep below their frozen surfaces, conditions may exist that resemble hydrothermal vent environments on Earth. The deep ocean, therefore, becomes more than a place of exploration. It becomes a natural laboratory, helping us understand not only our own world, but also the possibility of life elsewhere in the universe. As time passes, you continue moving through this extraordinary environment. The glowing mineral clouds drift upward. The vent chimneys stand silently in the darkness. Around them, life continues its endless cycle of survival and adaptation. Yet even here, in one of the most active places in the deep ocean, there is still a profound sense of calm. The movements are slow. The sounds are distant. Everything feels ancient. These ecosystems have existed for thousands of years, isolated from the world above. Storms on the surface have no effect here. Human cities, nations, and civilizations are meaningless at this depth. The deep ocean follows its own rhythm, untouched by many of the events that shape life on land. As you slowly leave the vent fields behind, the glow begins to fade once more. Darkness returns. The towering structures disappear into the distance. The water becomes colder again, and the seafloor stretches endlessly ahead. You realize that despite everything discovered so far, the ocean still holds countless mysteries. Large portions remain unexplored. Entire landscapes remain unmapped. Unknown species may still live in regions no human has ever observed. The deeper you think about the ocean, the more extraordinary it becomes, not because of what we know, but because of how much remains unknown. And as your journey continues through the darkness, one final stage remains before you return toward the surface, a stage that reveals perhaps the greatest lesson the ocean can teach. That mystery is not something to fear, but something to appreciate. As your journey through the deep ocean continues, the darkness around you feels less intimidating than before. What once seemed empty now feels alive with meaning. Throughout the descent, every layer of the ocean revealed a different world. From the bright waters near the surface to the twilight zone, from the midnight depths to the hydrothermal vents, each region told a story of survival, adaptation, and time. The ocean teaches a simple lesson. Life does not need comfort to exist. It does not require sunlight, warmth, or even familiarity. Given enough time, life adapts to almost any environment. The creatures of the deep ocean are proof of this remarkable ability. Many of these species have existed for millions of years. Generation after generation survived dramatic changes that transformed the planet. Ice ages came and went. Continents shifted. Entire species appeared and disappeared. Yet the deep ocean remained, carrying on in darkness far below the events of the surface world. As you move slowly across the seafloor one final time, you notice how peaceful everything feels. There's no rush here, no crowded cities, no constant noise, only slow movement, distant currents, and the quiet rhythm of nature. Far above, storms may cross the ocean. Powerful winds may move across the surface. Ships may travel from one side of the world to the other. But down here, those events feel incredibly distant. The deep ocean exists in its own world, separated by thousands of meters of water. This sense of separation creates a unique feeling of calm. The ocean does not hurry. It follows ancient cycles that have existed for ages. Currents move slowly across enormous distances. Sediment settles gently onto the seafloor. Creatures continue their lives according to rhythms that have remained unchanged for countless generations. As you begin imagining the journey upward, you realize how much of the ocean still remains unexplored. Despite all modern technology, scientists have mapped only part of the deep sea floor in detail. Large areas remain unknown. Hidden valleys, underwater mountains, and entire ecosystems may still wait to be discovered. Even today, new species are found in the ocean every year. Some are small and easily overlooked. Others are so unusual that they challenge our understanding of how life can exist. The ocean continues to surprise us, reminding us that exploration is far from complete. As the ascent continues, darkness slowly begins to fade. The black water around you gradually changes into deep blue. Far above, faint traces of light begin to appear once again. The journey back toward the surface feels different now. You are no longer descending into mystery. You are carrying that mystery with you. The ocean appears endless, yet every layer is connected. The surface depends on the depths, and the depths depend on processes that begin near the surface. Together they form one of the most complex and important systems on Earth. The water that surrounds you has traveled incredible distances. Some currents move through the oceans for hundreds or even thousands of years before completing their journey. In a way, every drop of water carries a history far older than any human civilization. As more light returns, familiar life begins to appear. Fish move through the water. Colors slowly return. The environment becomes brighter and easier to recognize. Eventually, the surface comes into view once more, shimmering beneath the sunlight. From above, the ocean looks peaceful. Most people see only the waves. They do not see the immense landscapes hidden below, the creatures adapted to darkness, the mountains beneath the sea, or the vent fields powered by the heat of the earth itself. Yet all of those worlds remain there, continuing their existence whether anyone observes them or not. Perhaps that is what makes the ocean so fascinating. It reminds us that mystery still exists. In an age where maps, satellites, and technology seem to explain everything, the ocean quietly reminds us that there are still places beyond our understanding. And as you rest, imagine the deep ocean continuing its silent rhythm beneath the waves. Imagine the slow currents moving through darkness. Imagine distant creatures drifting through waters untouched by sunlight. Imagine ancient landscapes resting beneath thousands of meters of sea. The ocean asks for nothing. It moves without hurry. It keeps its secrets patiently. And somewhere far below the surface, in the cold darkness of the deep sea, that hidden world continues exactly as it has for millions of years, quiet, endless, and waiting to be discovered. In the depths of this world, we realize that what we know about our planet is only a small part of the truth. Beneath the surface, there is life, movement, and entire systems operating silently for millions of years. And perhaps the greatest thing about the ocean is not what we see, but what we have yet to discover. If you haven't fallen asleep yet, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and stay curious, because the world is deeper than it seems.